Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Let's go.
Round one, fight.
Thank you for tuning in to the Crypto Street Podcast. Here are your hosts, Killer Whale, Prince, and Crypto Dale.
And remember to tip your waitress.
Yo, what's up, everybody? This is Crypto Dale, and you're tuning in, as you know, to the Crypto Street Podcast. I am sitting here staring at Prince's ugly ass mug. Prince, what's up, buddy?
When are we gonna fight? I am looking
Crypto
forward to
Coin
this.
Con next weekend.
Crypto
Let's fucking
Coin Con.
go.
We are going parking lot or what?
It's gonna be a mud wrestling.
mud wrestling. Jesus.
We already know we're gonna Indian leg wrestle, though. You know that's going down.
This is gonna be good. It's gonna be a good weekend.
And I'm fully aware that hockey players have thunder thighs. So I am going to be we're going to be Indian leg wrestling, and you will throw your tree trunk
just
up
crush
and
you.
then slam, and you're going to literally throw my leg clear across the room.
Through the floor.
I'm just saying this, not trying to be cocky. It's just, the fact of the matter. I'm going to crush you, Dale. I'm just, I'm worried. Don't get too ahead of yourself.
You know what I'm really worried about is destroying the hotel room.
What are you, 13?
It's happening.
Fuck.
Well, I'm just saying, I get a little boozy, and
Oh, yeah.
anyways, moving on from that, Canadian. Killer Whale, how we doing?
Good, bro. You two fellas almost
El
fought
Whale.
before the podcast today. We had a little incident trying to get the recording working. But I think we're past it now, so we're good.
Yeah, and
Let's
it
hope.
just confirms that Prince, we don't really know what Prince does around these neck of the woods.
I don't do much. I'm just a voice. I'm a voice of reason.
But you know what?
That is all.
That's what the people want. That is what the people want. Tonight we are joined by our favorite rapper of all time, literally. Biggie, 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 can't you see? Notorious BTC, what's up, buddy? Thank you for joining us.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it. Been dying to be on this.
Probably will refer to you all night as Biggie, just so you
That
know.
is
Yeah.
totally fine. That's what all of Bravado refers to me as. So
Cool,
good.
cool. So everyone listening, when you hear any one of us say Biggie, it is the man, the myth, the legend, Notorious BTC. All right, so we always kind of start out with a little background on yourself. How'd you get into crypto? What was it that really caught your eye? What do you like most about it? Blah, 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 all the good stuff the people want to hear.
Yeah. Your journey. Yeah.
Your journey. Yeah, thanks, Prince,
Yeah.
for doing something.
So I was doing investment banking. I did that for about 2 years, and I found myself last October. I can seriously remember sitting at my desk, and the guy who sat on at the desk behind me was always talking about his Bitcoin, and I was like, dude, you're just burn your fucking money. You might as well burn it. You're an idiot. And then it just kept hanging around the hoop. And I was like, all right, kind of started giving a little more credence. And then, so I always tell this part of the story because I personally think it's pretty cool. And honestly, it kind of helped me take the leap. But, so I grew up with Luke Martin. Most of you guys know it was Venture Coin. It's literally in the same neighborhood. His brother is in my grade, and he's actually friends with my little brother. And I had seen that he was kind of one of the first guys in that, or maybe one of the first, but an early guy that bull run to really start taking off. And Bitcoin, you said Bitcoin went exponential. He would 2x Bitcoin's rise. It was so crazy. And so I was like, all right.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave him a call, and I was like, dude, what's going on with this? Are you really serious about this? Do you think what the long-term viability is there? And he's like, dude, I'm doing this full time. I have full belief in it. And kind of gave me the rundown. And from there, I was like, all right. I started taking it seriously. And then, within a couple weeks from that point, I was sitting there trading BitMEX at my fucking desk. When I'm supposed to be working at a pitch, I'm working 100 plus hour weeks. And I'm literally sitting there trading BitMEX at almost all hours. I can remember jumping up from my desk and when you get a big turnaround, you catch the wick, and I'm of course, like I'm weeks into my fucking crypto trading, and I'm making good amount of money at this investment bank. So I'm trading like super large positions with too much leverage. And I remember sitting there with like $50,000, $100,000 positions, like on BitMEX, and I'm like, oh fuck yeah! And like I'll jump up, and guys like, what's going on? I'm like, I got nothing. But no, I mean, I got the bug then, and I would go home and what would I be trading? I'm trading on BitMEX all night, and then I go in super early and like grind my ass until some 10, sometimes midnight later, and then go home and trade. Like I was getting even less sleep because of crypto. And then when I finally decided to quit, really dove into crypto pretty hardcore. And while I was working on getting this startup up and running, that's not crypto related, it's actually like real estate in Africa. I talk about it on Twitter sometimes, but crypto was my means of kind of making money while I was not working and didn't have any incoming cash flow. And fortunately, I quit my job at literally the top of the bull market. And so I've been riding this fucking bear market for, pardon my language, but just, it's been, I couldn't have time, like Charlie Lee timing. I mean, I got out at the top. But, no, it's been a wild ride, and I joined Bravado shortly after that as an analyst, and that community has been incredible, and I leverage that as much as I can. And since then, it's been pretty much crypto everything. And now I've refrained from talking about it so much in public and when I meet people because, like, oh, isn't that the thing that's like?
Isn't that the thing that crashed
tanking?
Really hard?
Yeah, like
it's like
oh, you're one of those idiots that quit their job for crypto. Like, smart.
What made you finally decide to take that leap from quitting your job to going full-time crypto? What was that decision like?
I mean, fortunately, I could say that like the genuine reason for quitting my job, aside from like the shit hours and soul crushing culture, was like I really wanted to get into this startup and start building equity in something and take a leap towards something that I had full belief in, and it just made perfect sense from a timing perspective. But crypto was also there at the same time to kind of provide, so to speak, backup to that decision and a means for me to make money while I was not gainfully employed. So it wasn't necessarily quitting to do crypto full time. I was quitting to focus on something else, and crypto full time was like the best kind of like plugging a hole in the boat and like making sure I wasn't just hemorrhaging money. But I mean, if we had continued to go up, that would have been better than how we currently have. And I'll get into it a little later, I'm sure. But I was just too heavily exposed to alts at the time, and I think we've all learned from that kind of mistake.
It's an experience going through that. Like, like I had someone chirping at me the other day. It's like, oh, I'm a trader, first bear market. It's like, get the hell out of here. Like, not a lot of people go through a full market cycle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to be, usually they're like quite a bit older if they are. So, and just dealing with this market, you have no choice but to just, because it happens, everything is so quick. So it's like you have no choice but to try to adapt. And, on the bear side, it can get pretty vicious. And that's, we're experiencing that in full force right now.
Yeah. Biggie, as you spend more time in crypto, do you see yourself maybe doing it full time, or are you still trying to work on your other startup?
So the startup I've kind of hit the brakes on the startup at the moment. We've run into some difficulties, as I think is kind of to be expected with startups. Additionally, on top of the fact that we're working with the African government, they're not always the easiest to deal with and predict. So that has kind of hit a bump in the road. But as I've been looking to get back into the job market full time, I'm talking with a project right now, actually a Crypto Street favorite about trying to become an advisor. I've been talking with the team for the last month or so.
Yeah.
That would be Lux, and that would be something I'd be very interested in being a part of. I think it'd be really cool. At the same time, I'm looking at other crypto related roles, and I actually talked to a bunch of guys today that are currently at the company that I just applied for, and one of the questions they asked me was like their final question was, "Hey, what do you think? What are you looking for in this kind of out of your crypto career?" And I said, just that. Like, if I could make a career out of crypto, that would be my ideal end game. I mean, I think we're all in a position, and those of us that are listening to this and talking about all this are, of the opinion that we're early adopters, and this is a burgeoning asset class. And if you can get in this early in the game and really be a part of it, like, and if I can make a career out of this, that's my end game. And I'm just trying to position myself accordingly.
Yeah, and it's crazy, to think, at least for me, when you sit and think of, overall we are really super early in this game. But then, like you said, then I can't help but really think, for myself, I'm maybe, and Biggie, you and I kind of got in. I was a couple months ahead of you, but kind of, think of people like Killer and Prince, and then, like Nomad and Messiah and Natso and Nita Coin and all those guys. I got in way, way long time ago. It's just like, shit. Damn, you always think, I wish I could have got in a little sooner, but then you still think, in 5 years, we could be very well sought after for a lot of those advisor roles, or, it's, you need to always think bigger picture is what I guess I'm getting to, instead of, the what could have beens.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Biggie, let's talk maybe a little, since you're an analyst at Bravado. What do you see with the current market? Maybe just touch on that. You don't have to give much details, because as we've heard with poor bacon chain, if you're off by 1 penny, you're going to get your ass.
It's an art to be nicely vague, but not too vague, and not overly opinionated. It's an art.
And bacon ended up being right too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think things will go up and then down, and probably up again after that. It's about as specific.
It's either going to go up, down, or sideways.
No, I mean, look, I drew a bunch of lines on a chart like a couple weeks ago, and then I went on vacation for like 2 weeks, come back, look at my trading view, and like, look, I had this fucking support drawn at 61.25, and we bottomed out like maybe $20 below that. So like,
yeah,
I think it's hitting the levels that people are still predicting. This ETF crash essentially was like,
it was impressive.
Yeah, it's like, are you serious? And
yeah,
but like at the same time, you're not surprised at all.
Yeah,
I do market. Pretty much. It's wishful thinking. I think to some extent, but I would be hard pressed to see us going much lower than 5K. I'm not a 3K guy. I know a lot of those charts are out there, but then again, with the nature of Bitcoin, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we hit that. But I don't think we're, obviously any of the mainstream media shit that we've seen the last couple of days is like Bitcoin's dead. Like it's dead again after it was just alive again. Like,
what are your thoughts on alts and their situation? Because I know alts have, it's been the classic of everybody keeps hoping for an alt season and it just never comes. And then everybody's like, well, these things got to be bottoming, but then they just keep going lower. And I think, that's been the biggest burn for a lot of people in the market is this alts, the situation there. What's your view on that?
Right. I mean, so I'll be honest. I was way too exposed to alts when all of this kind of started. And then, to be frank, way too long after all of this started. But granted, we had talked a little bit earlier about this is my first market cycle I've really dealt with. I mean, I've been in my entire time trading from a broader perspective, equities markets included, we've been going up. As long as I've been actively trading, the equities market has just been fucking crushing it. But this is the first time I've seen a real bear market and been actively trading within it. So I was overexposed. Call it being optimistic, but just a part of learning how to be a trader. And I eventually got out of pretty much every one of my alts. And I was full BTC at the time, BTC fiat. Granted, I rode some of my BTC till where we are now. At times I've been all fiat, but I've gotten back in, and I think I've been too eager still, and a lot of times in this bear market to get back in and not miss a run, and made a lot of just break even trades and stuff like that, or down 3 or sometimes up 10, but still always trying to catch that perfect.
It's that's the tricky part, I find. Say you got capital out on the sidelines, you've been predicting, say, the crash is coming. Okay, it's crashing. But then that moment of, well, when do I deploy this back into the market?
Right.
And so, I've seen guys too, I know guys who they freaking got out at the top completely and they got back in way too early, and now they're still getting crushed even though they called the top. Right. So it's a tough thing to do.
Right. And so that's been interesting to learn. And I think, from in general, from an alt perspective, I'm still a little gun shy, but to be honest, I'm kind of happy about that. I want to be more risk averse this time around. At the moment, my current portfolio is the only two alts I own are Ethereum Classic and Lux. And it's not a shill.
Go ETC, baby.
Both of them have been wrecked recently.
Screw ETC.
In particular, ETC. Fortunately, I caught the bottom on that because TA doesn't work. And I'm going to hold that. I'm a firm believer in when we hit a true bull market again and start to get a bull run, and retail investors start to climb back in, that the cheapest coin on Coinbase will do well.
Thank you.
To say the least.
I think Coinbase means less than it did a year ago because there are more on-ramps. There's Bittrex, for example.
That's fair. But from a fiat perspective, when people are telling new people to get in,
it is still the big dog.
I think, though, when a bull run comes, I think a lot of people will enter through Coinbase.
That's at
least a lot of US folks.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So that's why, Biggie, I'm the same with you. I have a big bag of ETC, which I caught the bottom. I think I bought it at 200K Satoshi the other day, and then I sold it at 270. That was just a small, but still one of my bigger bags that I have in cold storage, and that's my thought process. I don't really believe in ETC per se itself, but I have that same feeling as you, as people are going to get on Coinbase and look at Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and ETC and Bcash, and they're going to think, okay, this one's the cheapest, so this is the one I'm going to buy.
Yeah, I have no fundamental reason for ETC being a coin that you should own.
Same.
Other than it's a sentiment. It's a sentiment trade. And the fact that everyone wants to shit on it, dude, is that's half the reason I'm still just holding it. So a funny story is when that first week of getting into crypto, and I was just hitting Luke with all the questions, dude, so I bought this and that. I looked up, I'm on Bittrex now, and I got these alts, and one of them was Ripple, and it was, this is before Ripple moved at all, and I was pretty solid on this, and it was just baseless buying, and it was funny because he's like, dude, don't He's like, Ripple sucks. The community hates it. So I bailed on it immediately, like right when I got that. And then it later went on to just do like one of the greater pumps any of us have ever seen. I'm like, oh man, that could have been that would have been my one, dude. Like that would have been my haymaker.
I was a Ripple believer just from a low price perspective. It was half a cent.
Right. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Half a cent. I remember looking at that. And when I first got in, I was like, man, this is a legit coin. This is like the coin. And when I first got into crypto, I was like, wow, and this is only like below half a penny. Like, holy crap. So I remember I owned a bunch of that when I first got in. And then, finally, I guess I got reason talked into me and I actually kind of opened my eyes a bit.
Yeah.
But that didn't stop it from going absolutely insane pump mode and me not making a dime off
exactly. Luke was like, dude, they're giving it away to banks for like a fraction of its current value. And I'm like, well, fuck that. Like, fuck this coin. It's never going to do well. Once people hear that, like, they're going to bail on it.
Yeah.
Next thing I know is CNBC is telling you how to buy it.
After the failed Swell conference last year.
Well, and that kind of goes to your point that, like, sometimes the most hated coins really do well.
Right. I mean, dude, that seems to play out way more than it should.
Yeah.
Like that being an established narrative, like you'd think it would start to be less prevalent. And it's still like ZCL, for fuck's sake. Like, are you kidding me? But Rand, dude. I mean, I personally, I couldn't think less of the guy. He's got so much influence, and that's the issue with me. It's like he doesn't really use it wisely or respect the community in that sense. And it seems like he's doing a lot of personal trading if you were to ask me why he's taking some of the positions he does. But I'm not here to start beef. I do that on Twitter enough.
Twitter itself has been like just a depressing place to be lately.
Dude.
I mean, engagement is way down. It's just boring. It's like everyone's salty.
Dead.
I've personally spent just way less time on crypto and in interacting with the community for the last month and a half. I took a break for a week from Twitter. Just didn't post anything. Tried not to like anything, and just
it's healthy.
Yeah,
I'm a believer that just staying
healthy.
away from all this shit, and taking a break, it's really healthy. And I know, like I've started doing that myself, where I only try to go on Twitter maybe 3 times a day, and I don't want to sit on there for more than like 30 minutes or something at a time, because you can have nothing going on in your day, say, and then next thing you know, you're sitting on Twitter just refreshing for like 2 hours, and you're like, wow, what did I just do with myself? Like, so, and
right.
And another thing about social media to me is you get so worked up, right? It's always like, well, what's this guy doing? Why is he doing that? And people will try to like sometimes make things appear better than what they really are, and then sometimes that just mentally that can kind of fuck with you, and you're like, well, why am I not having this kind of success that he's having? And then it can just really mess with you. And so I find just kind of taking some breaks away from Twitter in particular pretty important.
Yep.
How was that for you, Biggie? Like, you're back on Twitter now, right? Do you kind of wish you could go away again, or because
No.
it's kind of refreshing?
I mean, I'm still less active than I have been and will be in a bull market. But I find myself not. I can't remember the last time I posted a chart, and that was what I really started. Like that was when I started really hitting Twitter hard. Was when I was starting to post charts and like talking about price action. But obviously no one's talking about that shit anymore. Like the people that are left are the diehards. They're locked in their positions, or they're all fiat, and they want to tell everyone they're a fucking idiot. And like, I mean, you have your cash boys, and you got the pomps. Like it's like, oh, you're either a long-term believer or you're a perma bear, and like, dude, fucking like, cheers to cashiest boy for his alt account, cash boy. Like, dude, he's just killed it, and
he's crushed it on the short
I
side.
wish I had just like done like a one broker with that guy. But like,
just let me copy.
I found myself moving more back to like the equities market, but No, I mean, being back on Twitter is good. I love interacting with the community, man. And granted, I only have 7.7K followers, so personally, I think I'm one of your guys' better low caps. With no bias whatsoever. I'm a low cap Twitter account. And shout out to Bravado for taking a position in me early. But yeah, dude, Birch is the man. Talk about a smart dude who's aligned himself with just all the right companies and taking the next right step after next right step. But dude, some of those other guys, not to get on a tangent here, but those guys in Bravado, like the traders and the analysts in there those guys are incredible. I'm the worst one by far. Like they're insane. And, they got guys that are part of the community that aren't even real analysts and guys that trade for like the actual in the actual futures market. And I guess I'm not going to mention, but like, no, that community's been incredible, and I'm really looking forward to see how that grows. But no, I mean, Twitter's my start. Twitter's the only reason you guys are talking to me at this point.
It's kind of weird how that is, eh? Like, I think that's the same way for all of us, and honestly, probably a lot of people on Twitter and in crypto is, you just kind of network just within other crypto accounts.
I mean, dude, I remember meeting the Bravado guys for the first time in person. And at least half of the 7 guys I met were like, "Oh man, I thought you were black. Like I thought I am an absolute white bread, blonde hair, blue eyed, like as German as it gets." And like all the guys were, "Oh, it was you kind of talk, with a little like sometimes on Twitter," and I'm like, "Yeah, I get it. Like this is a branding thing." And
Notorious BTC.
Yeah, and I just remember like this is my second attempt at branding. The first one was like Bob Knight related, and of course that didn't catch on because no one fucking cares who Bob Knight or knows who Bob. Yeah, right. Some people know who Bob Knight is, but like no one gives a shit about Bob Knight. I was like, all right, well this one's
to Indiana. Yeah.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah, Bob. I mean he's the man.
I remember that.
And so Prince was one of my first like followers. Prince is an early adopter. He's like 10x on me, I think.
Dude, same with me and Prince. We would like each other's tweets when both of us had like
Prince always
200
finds
followers.
Gems.
Yeah, it was dope. That's one of the things that keeps you in crypto is the community. I mean, if I was like just interested in crypto, but I wasn't on Telegram and I wasn't on Twitter and I wasn't talking to people like you guys, I mean, I don't even know if I would still be in it because it'd be like interesting, but it wouldn't be totally consuming like it kind of is now.
I feel like I'd treat it like the stock market. I wouldn't check it every 15 minutes,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm kind of reclusive, so I would probably just be doing what I'm doing anyways, without a podcast and all that,
Okay, big dog.
Prince don't need nobody.
I'm a recluse.
Yeah. Anyway, Biggie, I wanted to ask you, what are your favorite sectors or types of coins for the future? Things that you see achieving the highest returns or making the most difference?
So I'm kind of on the side of like the decentralized exchanges, but I hesitate to say that given what we know about the decentralized exchanges is like the lack of volume. I think Binance recently came out with like kind of like a teaser, like, "Hey, we're working on this. It will exist." But then at the same time, you have that news about Binance, like they're like, "Oh, 2.5 million to list something." Like, so I'm like those decentralized exchanges still need a lot of work, but that's one of the sectors I'm the most bullish on. Privacy coins also right there. But I mean, honestly, most of my trading in these times is Bitcoin. And there were a lot of narratives created in the bull run. And I think some of those were created to justify some of the price action. And it was kind of retroactive in terms of like, oh, this is what this sector's hot. And like this sector is going to be hot because like these are the coins that have done the best. I don't think a lot of us know what sectors are actually going to have their use case adopted. And
it's one big
I think I'm very skeptic, right? And I think I'm very skeptical on that side of it, and so I hesitate to really take strong position in sectors that kind of overlap with existing traditional business model sectors. Like, oh, this is going to be the new way that shipping is done, and like, I think that will come a lot slower than anyone really wants to anticipate. And so, like, that's kind of my take on the whole thing. So I think I'm probably the most bullish on Bitcoin, as in like cryptocurrency, the whole sector being like your best investment if you want to talk like from a risk adjusted basis.
Absolutely. And that's something you see, a lot of guys who have been in around a long time, they've seen the cycles come and go. And they're usually, Bitcoin is the coin. That is like the one true crypto, it's like, it's not really going anywhere. A lot of alts, they might not be around, in 6 months or so.
That'll be the last thing to die. I mean, if shit hits the fan, that's the last thing that goes away. Nothing, Bitcoin doesn't go away before anything else. So, and I think part of that response is based on just still being gun shy from getting wrecked at, the first half of this bear market.
Yeah. And it's been vicious for alts. But I think what's the saying? Like, alts are only good for making more BTC, right?
Right.
And I think that's something that maybe a lot of people didn't want to really read much into that statement, maybe during the bull run. And now, it's kind of this never-ending pit where it just keeps falling, and they're like, oh, okay, maybe I see where that statement has some truth to it now.
Yeah. And I think to an extent, I think it's a very good thing that this is all happening. And I think, whether it's consolidation or, from a project perspective, like there's 10 projects now focusing on the exact same use case, like down to a T. And the whole ICO boom, really, I got a really bad taste in my mouth when I started really digging into how these teams were spending the money they raised and what they were inherently focused on, which was, how can we spend this money to market our product that doesn't exist, that we haven't developed? And I cringe when I think about what most teams are still focused on. There's nothing about the product.
Another thing I've heard is you've seen a lot now of these teams who raised, a ridiculous amount of capital, and then all of a sudden, it's all raised in ETH, and then ETH goes up another 4x, and now it's like, oh wow, we got 4 times more money than we initially had, and so all of a sudden they're starting to speculate on the funds that they've raised. And so this is another thing where we've seen, we've kind of heard some stuff where there's teams who are, they're selling all of it now because they're like, wow, like at one point it was worth this much. We never cashed any of it out because we were thinking, oh, we're going to get super rich. Now it's down less than, say, what it was initially because they've been just trying to speculate with all this money. And it's like, oh, good job, guys.
Right.
That was a thought I had like driving home today. It was just, one of the things I think that's going to be super important with this environment, especially if the market stays flat for a while or continues to bleed, is you got to make sure the project, if it's an alt that you're supporting, has enough capital to keep their lights on. I mean, a lot of these companies and projects, I think, hired developers near the top when they thought they were going to have 10 years worth of money. All of a sudden, that's 6 months worth of money. And that's not really an exaggeration, I don't think, given how much everything is down. I mean, everything is down like 80, 90, like hugely,
Well, you had a lot of people coming in who had nothing but, I'm going to just raise a lot of money pretty easily. And then it came to this whole, oh, well, we can make even more money off of this money. Let's speculate with it. But reality is they didn't really know what they were doing. It was a lot of very poor management. And I think, we're already starting to see it. The more this bleeds out this market, just the more pain you're going to see continually from some of these projects.
Yeah, I've actually never participated in ICO. And So I can't speak to whether these are conditions that have ever been existent, but I when I hear about an ICO raising $4 billion or like $100 million even, like, and then that $100 million is now worth $30 million. Like, I can't. My first reaction is, well, they obviously sold that, right? Like anyone who raises $100 million, like, lock some of that in, right? Like,
you gotta lock some of that in.
That just seems like, but you have no fiduciary obligation to anyone who's invested in you to, you know, make sure you lock in and you minimize risk for the entire organization. It's greed, and greed has just completely dominated so many of the operations of how a lot of these you fucking ICOs investing in other ICOs.
Yeah, like, that's the most ridiculous thing.
Like leveraging, putting leverage on burning your money, and like it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, if you're someone who raises $1 billion, you sell everything for USD, lock that shit in.
Yeah,
and
you're not a hedge fund.
And then you figure out how to fucking use that $1 billion that the people invested in your project at the current time. But no, it's like these companies have held tokens and now they're selling at the bottom and capitulating. And like, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't want them to hope and see if it goes up. Like, they should have sold it when they got it. This isn't a game of how much money can you make out of the money that people invested in you. It's a matter of how can we use these funds, which I would say 9.5 times out of 10 was much more than any of these projects ever actually needed to operate. And run with that. But everyone ran with. It seems to me
everyone is drinking the Kool-Aid.
Right. And that's even if they've operated, you know, like with any kind of values and in respect to their community, because, you know, there are also the exit scams and like the Mercury protocol, who just decides to change everything about how they initially decided to pitch themselves.
I didn't know about that.
I mean, they fiat pegged their crypto and like well after the ICO. I don't know. Jeez. It's just something I've read about on Twitter and something that Luke.
What did they call it? A consumer token?
Yeah, it's a consumer token, and it's not a coin that's going to be speculated on. And they pegged it to fiat after everyone. I think below their ICO price, and it's like, wow, no one invested to have their money, to lock their money in against inflation. Like, it's just.
Jeez. It's not
no morals. There's no morals.
How to save some value.
And like, to show you how widespread and rampant the greed was, take an example like Tezos. Okay, so Tezos raised all this money, and at one point they said they were going to liquidate part of that massive amount of money they had and put it in traditional assets like bonds, stocks, you know, bonds that are paying maybe 5, 6, 7, 8% if they're lucky. Which is a really smart thing to do, you know, not with all of it, but with a part of it. But people were outraged at that decision. And I was like, you guys are out of your minds. Like, this is a perfectly smart thing to do.
Oh.
But the mindset at the time was, this is never going down.
Look, they could have put all their money in, well, they couldn't have because they had too much of it. But they could have bought all of the available Tesla bonds at the time that were trading at 90 cents on the dollar. Yeah. And they'd be up 12% versus down whatever the fuck the market is at this point. And like, no, I mean, nobody wanted to lock it in. Everybody wanted to let it ride. And that's because it was free money.
Yeah.
I mean, all you had to do was put together a pitch and sales, and people just poured money into it, which.
Yeah. And apparently, you know, from what we saw Novogratz tweet out, I think it was a reply to Pomp just yesterday, I think. And he was saying, you know, it's still like the private, you know, markets, the crowd sales, stuff like that, it's still booming. It's still hot. You know, they're raising a ton of money still.
Hopefully I would assume, so from Novogratz's perspective, that's a credit guy. I mean, he's got a background in institutional credit. That's a guy who lives his life on mitigating risk as someone with a background in credit and leverage finance. Like, that's all we focused on was cash flow and make sure to mitigate risk. And that's a guy who I would assume that these type of investments that are being done now, which are more so behind the curtains, the VCs getting in with private sales and stuff like that, I think they have a better ability, even though it's still very close to when we were seeing this crazy period of investment from retail investors. I think they probably have more leverage to manage the teams that are dealing with their investments. I think they have more influence than what we saw during this last bull run. Or I don't know what they're doing. I can only assume, and that's my only thought is that they structure these things so that
it's becoming a little more,
that's the case,
a lot more professional.
But then again, I mean, it still kind of defeats the purpose of letting the retail investor and completely decentralizing. You're still giving that like inside advantage to the institutional guys, which is a thing that we all liked about what we were looking at back, 7-10 months ago. It's like, hey, the regular guy can get into these things and make the crazy type of returns that sometimes we see these VC firms do. But now it's moved back to the accredited investor getting the advantage. And I mean, the rich get richer.
All right, so we're gonna move on. It's been a little while since we've done this, and I don't even think Killer and Prince know I'm gonna do this, but we're gonna do over under on a couple of them. And I haven't sent you guys a list, so this is gonna be fresh for So over under tonight is where we just give a price target of a coin, and then we're going to say if we're over under that target. It's brought to you by coindiscovery.com. Head on over there and check it out. Kind of like CoinMarketCap, but they've got some different features that are pretty cool. It's we've been talking about it, Prince, Killer, and myself. Something that we've been really using a lot lately. So head on over there, check it out, coindiscovery.com. First, we'll start with Bitcoin currently at 65.26 according to coindiscovery.com. It's a 24-hour up 2.6%, 7 days down 12.45, I guess.
You might want to refresh your tab there because I'm looking at 64.65 right now.
Suck it. So is it going to be over or under? We'll say 2 weeks. 66.50.
Oh God.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
By nature, I am perma bullish. I've learned to be bearish. They're getting fucking wrecked. But like I said, my every cell in my body is telling me that it's gotta be higher than that. 2 weeks from now, I honestly, if I could say push, I would.
Ooh. Okay, so 66 is the number, Dale?
Yeah.
I want to say we're over that in 2 weeks. I'll probably end up looking like an asshole because it'll go way lower. So,
or blow you out of the water.
Yeah. So, we'll go over because I think it's fairly close right now, but it's in a zone that you really don't want to see it break down from. So,
Killer,
I'm gonna go $1, Bob. Under. I think I feel like, I don't know, given the fact that Prince is bullish, that makes me want to be bullish because Prince is the big old bear. But I'm just trying to please the people right now, maybe. I don't know.
I have no idea how to even make a call on this in 2 weeks. To me, it's just like, ugh.
Dude, I'm more uncertain now than I've ever been.
Yeah,
for
sure. My big thing is just the zone it's in. We really don't want to break down from it. And if it does, I don't think it'll be very good. So we'll see if we get some buy pressure coming in.
Okay, the last one we're going to do because everyone's so gloomy tonight. Tezos. 7 day change.
S&P 500.
Tezos looks like.
I'm a Tezos maximalist.
24-hour change is up 4.12%, and the weekly's up. It's pretty well break even. $1.65. What do you got?
Of course, I'm bullish on Tezos. Of course, but if corn goes down, then I'm pretty much screwed anyways. So,
yeah,
I'm gonna go over slightly, but I think maybe like 180-ish, 190. I think it'll still kind of be hovering.
I'm just living the dream with this sweet passive income. I'm making like $8 a day right now.
Jeez. Yeah. You're buying drinks next weekend.
Yeah, I'm living the dream.
Oh, bear Sean Tezos.
Get out.
Oh, I hate it, but like,
leave.
That's mismanagement at its finest. Like, how can anyone have confidence in that fucking team at this point?
Is this real right now? Is this really happening?
Hey, you know what? He's not wrong.
Though. Someone pinch me. Someone pinch me.
Lux, so like, give me a fucking break. Oh hell, bullish.
All right, do you guys have anything to add here before we wrap up? Killer Prince, what do you guys?
No, it's been a fun chat.
I don't know. Just protect yourself. Stay safe. It's a jungle out there. That's about it.
Biggie, you got any final parting words?
Yeah, less leverage.
There we go.
That's a great idea.
Less leverage, manage risk. All the same shit you hear on Twitter. But no, thanks for having me, guys. You guys are the best in the biz. Personally, and truly believe that at what you do, and I absolutely love everything you do, and I think you've honestly helped grow the space and will continue to. So I appreciate what you do, and thanks for having me. And go follow Crypto Biggie and join Bravado. I got it.
There you go. Had to get the plug in. Head on over, check him out on Twitter. Again, what was it? Crypto Biggie, right?
Yeah, at Crypto Biggie.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks for being on, man. We always enjoy looking at your ideas and your tweets and everything. So thanks everyone for listening. Like Prince said, stay safe. Maybe get out from that computer, take a walk. Most annoying person on the
Come
internet.
to Denver, smoke some weed.
It's an inside joke. This is a horrible joke. Rock and roll. All right, thanks for listening, everyone. Remember, tip that waitress. She works hard, breaks her back for your water. She or he. Peace out. Later, guys.